What happens when the boss goes undercover and hears his manager say a woman is too fat to work? Wesley Finch stood in the back of the parking lot, staring at the faded sign above Store 11. His hoodie was zipped, baseball cap pulled low, and a fake beard itched against his chin. He'd done this 3 times before at different locations, but this one felt heavier. Not because of a complaint, there hadn't been one. That was the problem. Store 11 wasn't sending in weekly numbers anymore. Their staffing reports were messy. No request for overtime, yet the sales were dropping. Something wasn't adding up. The district manager claimed everything was just fine, blaming turnover and lazy new hires. Wesley wasn't buying it. He bought the chain 7 years ago, 17 locations across 3 states. It was a mess when he got it, but he'd worked hard to clean it up. Still, with that many stores, it was easy for people to forget who owned the place. Most of the store-level workers had never met him. Some didn't even know his name. Today, he was going in as Gary, a new trainee transferred from Store 16. The disguise was good contacts instead of his glasses, dyed hair, and a southern drawl he picked up from his college roommate. He walked with a slight limp to throw people off. Nobody would guess he was the man signing their paychecks. Inside, the store looked clean enough, but there was no energy. A few workers moved around quietly, heads down. No music playing. A woman behind the register glanced at him, then quickly looked away. No greeting. A short man in a tight polo came striding out of the back. "You the transfer?" Wesley nodded. "Yeah. Gary from 16. I'm Mitch." "Store manager," the man said, not offering a handshake. "We don't have time for slacking, so don't expect anyone to hold your hand. You follow me, do what I say, and don't talk back." Wesley kept his face blank. "Got it." Mitch walked fast, barking out rules as they passed aisles. "Breaks are 15 minutes max. Phones stay in your locker. I catch you messing around, you're out. People here get too comfortable. Not on my watch." He introduced a few other employees by name, barely making eye contact with them. One girl, maybe 21, flinched when he said her name. Naomi. She looked exhausted, but she still gave Wesley a small smile when Mitch walked off. "You're gonna need patience here," she said gently. "Don't take anything personal." Wesley nodded. "Thanks." They spent the next hour stocking shelves. Naomi worked fast and clean, double-checking labels and helping him when he fumbled with the inventory system. She didn't complain, just kept moving. Mitch passed by twice, never said a word to either of them. Around lunchtime, they went to the break room. The air smelled like burnt coffee. A woman walked in behind them, probably mid-30s, wide-hipped, with a kind face and nervous eyes. She clutched a folder in her hands. "I have an interview," she said softly to Mitch, who was already seated with a sandwich in his mouth. He looked her up and down, chewing slowly. "For what position?" "Cashier," she said. "I applied online last week." He didn't even check the folder. "We're not hiring anymore," he muttered. "But it said, 'We're not hiring you,'" he cut in, then chuckled. "Look, no offense, but this job means being on your feet 8 hours. Fast-paced. You don't exactly look built for that." Wesley froze. Naomi blinked. The woman's face turned red, but she didn't speak. She tightened her grip on the folder and took a small step back. "I can handle it," she said quietly. "Yeah, sure," Mitch said, standing up. "I'm doing you a favor. You'd quit after 2 days. Try somewhere slower paced. Maybe a desk job." The woman turned and left. Naomi looked sick. Wesley felt his jaw clench. He'd heard enough. He followed Mitch out of the break room a minute later. "Hey," he said, keeping his voice low. "What was that about?" "What do you mean?" "That lady. You shut her down without even asking a question." Mitch rolled his eyes. "You'll learn. People like her, they don't last." It's a waste of time. You'll see. Wesley didn't respond. He spent the rest of the day watching carefully. Mitch barely worked. He barked orders, spent long periods in the office, and scolded employees for tiny mistakes. Naomi and another worker named Devin picked up the slack. Wesley noticed Naomi stayed an hour past her shift to help close down the registers when the scheduled cashier didn't show. At the end of the night, when the store was finally quiet, Wesley sat in the break room alone and took out his phone. He looked at the picture he'd secretly taken of the woman at the interview. She'd looked humiliated. He had seen enough. Tomorrow he would come back not as Gary, as Wesley Finch. The next morning, the store opened like it always did, quiet, mechanical, a little too fast for how tired everyone looked. But today there was a shift in the air. Naomi noticed it first when a black SUV pulled up early, before the sun had fully risen. No one ever arrived that early unless they were on the opening shift. The man who stepped out wasn't Gary. He was clean-shaven, wearing a navy sport coat, dark jeans, and walking with the kind of calm authority you didn't learn in a retail training video. Inside, Mitch was at the back near the stockroom, arguing with Devin about an inventory discrepancy. "You scanned the crates wrong again," Mitch said, voice sharp. "Do I have to babysit every count you do?" Devin didn't look up. "I followed the system. Maybe the numbers are off because pallets are still in the truck. Don't get smart with me. You think you know more than me, you can clock out right now." The door swung open. Wesley stepped in, his voice cool. "That won't be necessary. Devin's staying." "You're not." Mitch turned, startled. "Can I help you?" "Yes. You can gather your things." "I don't think you know who you're talking to," Mitch said, folding his arms. "I do," Wesley said, locking eyes with him. "You're Mitch, store manager, and I'm Wesley Finch. I own this store." Mitch's face went pale. The silence was immediate. Devin blinked. A few feet away, Naomi had paused mid-step, holding a box of printer paper. Wesley didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. The weight of his words did the work. "I spent yesterday working under you," Wesley continued. "You didn't recognize me, which worked out. I got to see how you treat people when no one's watching." Mitch opened his mouth, but Wesley held up a hand. "You shut down a job candidate based on her appearance. You made a snap judgment, insulted her, and dismissed her without even reviewing her application. That's not just unprofessional, it's discriminatory. And illegal." Mitch shifted his stance. "Look, I didn't mean it like that. I was trying to be honest." "You were cruel," Wesley interrupted. "And that's not something I allow in any part of my company." Devin stepped back, giving them space. Naomi was standing still, barely breathing. "Effective immediately," Wesley said. "You're terminated. You'll be escorted out. Your final paycheck will be mailed. Don't speak to any staff. Don't touch the registers, the computer, or the safe." Mitch hesitated, then scoffed. "Unbelievable. All this over one comment." Wesley looked him in the eye. "No. All this because of how you've been running this store. I watched you ignore your staff, dodge your responsibilities, and create a place where people are afraid to speak. I'm not losing good people because of bad management." Mitch didn't say anything else. He walked out stiffly, eyes darting around the room. No one said goodbye. After the door clicked shut behind him, Wesley turned to Devin. "Did you really scan everything correctly?" Devin nodded. "I double-checked it. We'll go over it together later," Wesley said. "But I believe you." Naomi stepped forward slowly. "Is he really gone?" Wesley gave a small nod. "He's not coming back." She lowered her shoulders, like something heavy had slipped off. "I need to speak with the whole team," Wesley said. "Can you gather everyone in the break room in 10 minutes? "Yeah," she said. "I'll let them know." By the time the meeting started, 6 employees were seated around the break room table. 2 more stood near the wall. Some looked nervous. One of the newer hires, a tall boy named Marcus, kept glancing at the door like he wasn't sure if he should be there. Wesley stood at the front. "I know this isn't how your day usually starts," he began, "but it needed to happen. I've been getting inconsistent reports from this location. So I came in undercover yesterday as a new trainee. What I saw confirmed my suspicions." There were exchanged looks. A few people sat up straighter. "This store has been under pressure. Short staff, long hours, and no support. That's not acceptable. But what bothered me most wasn't the workload. It was the culture. I saw people doing their best while being ignored, dismissed, or pushed too hard. That stops now." He let his eyes land on each person in turn. "No one should be afraid to ask for help. No one should stay late because they're worried the store will fall apart if they don't. That's not your job. It's mine. And I haven't been doing it." The room was quiet, but not tense, more like everyone was waiting to exhale. "Going forward, Naomi will be acting floor lead this week. She already knows the systems, she's organized, and she's earned the team's trust." Naomi blinked. "Wait, me?" Wesley nodded. "Yes, we'll support you. But I need someone who understands what's actually happening on the floor." He turned to Marcus. "You're still learning the ropes, but I saw how you helped that elderly customer in aisle 4 yesterday. You didn't rush her. That matters." Marcus shifted, surprised. "Thanks, Devin," Wesley said. "After this meeting, I'd like you to walk me through the current inventory process. If something's broken, we'll fix it." Devin gave a small thumbs up. Wesley paused, then added, "Also, I'm tracking down the woman who was turned away yesterday. I have her name and number from her application. I'm calling her personally to offer her the job Mitch denied her. If she still wants it, it's hers." There was a long pause, and then someone clapped. It was one of the cashiers, a woman with dyed green hair whose name tag read T. Others joined in. Not loud, not dramatic, just enough to break the tension. After the meeting, Naomi pulled Wesley aside. "I've never been in charge of anything," she said. "What if I mess it up?" "You won't," he said. "You've already been holding it together. Now you just get the title to match." She nodded slowly, still unsure, but not walking away. The rest of the day was a blur of movement. Wesley stayed on site, not barking orders but listening. He shadowed the cashiers, sorted stock in the back, and asked questions without judgment. The gaps became clear. Scheduling was a mess. 3 people were working overtime while 2 others had been sent home early twice that week. The register system was still using outdated pricing for nearly 100 items, causing delays. And the walkie-talkies were down to 1 working unit, forcing staff to shout across aisles or go searching for each other. Wesley pulled out his tablet and started logging everything. Later that night, he'd send it to his regional operations lead along with a budget request. Not just for repairs, but for staffing. At lunch, he sat with the team. No separate office. No catered meals. Just a sandwich from the fridge and a chair like everyone else. "Did you always know you wanted to run a business?" Marcus asked. "No," Wesley said. "I just knew I didn't want to work for people who didn't care." Naomi sat nearby, scribbling notes in a small planner. Wesley noticed she'd already reorganized the shift chart. When the store closed that evening, the atmosphere was different. Still tired, still stretched thin, but lighter, more human. Wesley lingered near the door as everyone signed out. "Hey," Naomi said on her way out. "That woman, the one from yesterday. If she comes back, tell her I'd be lucky to work with her." "I will," Wesley said, and he meant it. Wesley leaned against the wall of the tiny upstairs office as the regional operations lead, Carla, tapped away on a tablet beside him. The room was warm, cramped, and smelled faintly of old receipts. There wasn't even a real door, just a partition that barely muffled sound from the sales floor below. He didn't say much. He wanted her to see it for herself. Carla had arrived an hour ago, requested by Wesley after the previous day's events. She was sharp, no nonsense, and had a long history with the company. This was her third store audit that week, but Wesley could tell from the way her brow furrowed that this one was already in a league of its own. She looked up from her notes. "The communication breakdown's worse than I thought," she said. 2 radios for the whole floor, only one working. No shift handoff logs. No updated safety checks for over a month. I had to ask 3 different people where the fire exit keys were. Wesley kept his eyes on the floor below, where Naomi was walking a new hire through the end-of-day restock procedure. She was methodical, patient, and made sure the new guy wrote everything down. "Any word from HR on the woman we're trying to bring back?" he asked. Carla nodded. "I spoke with her this morning. Her name's Tanya. She was honest, said she wasn't sure if she wanted to come back after how she was treated. I told her she wouldn't be dealing with the same leadership. She's considering it. I left it open-ended." "Fair," Wesley said. "She'll need to decide on her own terms." They watched in silence for a moment as Naomi stepped aside to let the new hire take the lead. Carla's eyes followed her. "She's green, but she's got instincts," Carla said. "If she can handle this kind of chaos, she can handle anything." "She didn't ask for it," Wesley said. "But she didn't run from it either." Downstairs, a sharp voice cut through the low hum of activity. "Are you serious? You're restocking the wrong shelf again." Wesley and Carla both turned. The voice belonged to a wiry man in his late 40s, wearing a supervisor badge that hadn't been signed off for months. His name was Lyle. Carla raised an eyebrow. "I thought you said Mitch was the only issue." "I thought so too," Wesley said, already heading for the stairs. By the time he reached the floor, Lyle was standing over a younger employee named Darius, who looked frozen in place beside a cart of toiletries. 2 packs of razors had slipped off the edge. "I asked you to do one thing," Lyle snapped. "You can't even manage that?" Darius bent to pick up the razors without answering. "I've been doing this job longer than you've been alive," Lyle continued. "Don't try to correct me again." "Lyle," Wesley said, stepping between them. "Come with me." Lyle blinked, confused. "Who are you?" "Wesley Finch," he said. "Owner." Lyle's jaw shifted. "I didn't realize, didn't ask you to," Wesley said, already walking toward the back. "Now." They entered the break room. Wesley shut the door behind them. "You've been here how long?" 8 years, Lyle said, folding his arms. "Longer than any of those kids out there. That's not a badge of honor if you're using it to belittle them. I have high standards. They need it. They need leadership. What I saw was intimidation. Darius is 17. He's working his first job." Lyle shrugged. "Then he needs to toughen up." "No," Wesley said. "You need to pack up." Lyle's arms dropped. "Excuse me? I said you're done. Go clean out your locker. You're not coming back. You're firing me for that? I've worked here almost a decade. And in all that time, you didn't learn how to train without tearing people down?" Wesley said. "I won't reward that kind of behavior with more time. You're done." Lyle stood stiff for a moment, then scoffed and walked out. Carla entered the break room a few minutes later with a stack of papers in hand. "Found another issue," she said. "Payroll requests on file show routine underreporting of hours. Some of the part-timers are clocked out early while they're still working." Wesley's jaw tensed. Naomi mentioned something about staying late. She wasn't the only one. Devin too. Marcus wasn't even on the clock yesterday and still helped close. Lyle was the one submitting those reports. Of course he was. We'll correct the hours and issue back pay. I've already escalated it to finance. Wesley sat down slowly, rubbing the side of his face. The weight of it all settled on him, the neglect, the pressure, the quiet exhaustion etched into every corner of the store. Did we miss this because we were looking at the wrong things? He asked quietly. We missed it because we trusted the wrong people to tell us the truth, Carla said. But we're seeing it now. Later that afternoon, Wesley gathered the whole team again. This time, the meeting wasn't in the break room. The floor was closed early only by 30 minutes and everyone stood in a loose circle near the registers. I won't take up much of your time, Wesley said. But I want to make something clear. He looked around the group. No one looked away. You've each been carrying more than you were hired for. Some of you stayed late. Some of you worked off the clock. That ends now. We're correcting those hours, paying what's owed, and implementing a new timekeeping system next week. You'll clock in and out from your phones. No more paper logs. The cashiers exchanged glances. Marcus gave a low whistle. I've also asked Carla to assign us a new assistant manager. Someone you can go to when I'm not here and Naomi's stretched thin. Until then, any schedule issues or supply needs come directly to me. Wesley turned toward Darius. You didn't deserve what happened earlier. You were doing your job. You'll have a proper trainer now. And you'll be paid for every minute you're here. Darius nodded, eyes on the floor, then quietly said, Thanks. Wesley looked back at the group. I know this doesn't fix everything, but it's a start. And we're not stopping here. As people began to disperse, Naomi approached him, holding a printout in her hand. This is next week's draft schedule, she said. I tried to balance shifts based on availability and make sure no one's closing back to back. He scanned it. You did all this today? There wasn't much else to do while the register system updated. Looks tight, he said. Send it to Carla. She'll approve it. Naomi hesitated. Wesley, you're not going to disappear again, are you? He didn't answer right away. No, he said finally. I can't afford to. Just then, the store phone rang. Carla answered, then looked over to Wesley. It's Tanya. She's on line 2. He stepped into the office and picked up the phone. Tanya? This is Wesley Finch. Her voice was calm. I've thought about it. I'll come in for a trial shift. That's all I'm promising. That's all I'm asking. I'm not looking for favors, she said. I want to work, but I won't be humiliated again. You won't be, he said. Not here. Not while I'm watching. They agreed on a date and she hung up. He stood alone in the office for a long moment, looking down through the dusty glass at the floor below. The store was quiet again, but something had changed. Not fixed, not perfect, but different. He reached for the light switch and turned it off. Tomorrow the doors would open again, and this time things would be different for real. The rain started just after the last customer left. A slow, steady patter against the front windows as Naomi locked up. Wesley stood near the seasonal aisle, arms crossed, watching her check the deadbolt. She moved with newfound certainty, still tired, but solid. She didn't need to glance over her shoulder for approval now. When she turned, her eyes met his without hesitation. I left the clipboard by the register, she said. Tomorrow's to-do list is on top. Good, Wesley said. You heading straight home? I've got a ride coming. I can't risk the buses this late. They've been skipping stops lately. Let me know if that keeps happening, he said. We'll figure something out. She nodded once, then disappeared into the back to grab her jacket. Wesley stayed where he was. The store smelled faintly of lemon cleaner and cardboard. The lights hummed overhead. It wasn't fixed, but it was quieter. Honest. Carla emerged from the office holding a small stack of papers. She handed them to Wesley without a word. He flipped through them: revised payroll entries, the corrected staffing chart, and 2 formal warnings from other employees about Mitch and Lyle, previously buried in an outdated HR folder. "These should have been dealt with months ago," she said. "They weren't," he replied. "That's on us." She adjusted her scarf, eyes scanning the floor. Tanya's trial shift is set for Friday. She asked if someone could walk her through the register system gently. "I'll do it myself." Carla gave a small nod, then glanced toward the back. "You think Naomi will last?" "She's not here for a title," Wesley said. "She's here because she won't let the place fall apart. That's not something you teach." Outside, a car horn sounded once. Naomi reappeared with her jacket on and a folded umbrella in hand. "See you tomorrow," she said, pausing at the door. "You will," Wesley said. She left without another word. The next morning, Tanya arrived 15 minutes early. She wore a plain black sweater and work shoes that looked freshly purchased. Her eyes flicked around the store when she stepped inside, cautious but alert. Wesley met her at the front. "I'm glad you came," he said. "Let's just see how it goes," she replied. He led her to register 2 and began the walkthrough. The system was simple, but he didn't rush. He let her ask questions. She didn't need anything repeated. She caught on quickly. "You said you'd be training me," Tanya said after a while. "But you're the one who runs the place?" "I do," he said. "That's not normal. Neither was what happened to you." She didn't reply to that, but her posture softened slightly. By 11, Naomi arrived and introduced herself with a quiet handshake. She didn't mention the interview. She didn't need to. Tanya gave her a brief look of recognition, then turned back to the register. The day moved slowly but steadily. Tanya took her first customer by noon. She was polite, precise, and didn't flinch when a man tried to rush her along. Around 3, Wesley stepped into the back to review the updated training logs. Devin had begun documenting every shift in a spiral notebook, noting who trained whom, what was covered, and what still needed work. It wasn't fancy, but it was consistent. A small but necessary fix. He was halfway through reading when he heard raised voices from the front. He moved fast. At the register, Tanya stood frozen, a receipt in one hand. Across from her, a tall man in a worn leather jacket leaned over the counter, his voice low but sharp. "I asked you to double bag it," the man said. "You didn't listen." "I did," Tanya replied, steady. "But the bag split. I'm replacing it now. Maybe if you moved faster." Naomi stepped in. "Sir, we're happy to help, but you need to lower your voice." The man turned to her. "You think you're in charge now?" "I am," she said firmly. Wesley came up behind the man. "Sir, I'm going to ask you to finish your checkout or leave." The man turned. "And who are you?" "Owner." The man's mouth opened, shut again. He grabbed his bag and left without another word. Tanya exhaled, barely audible. Naomi placed a hand on her shoulder briefly, then moved on without comment. Later, in the break room, Tanya sat with a paper cup of tea. Wesley joined her. "That wasn't about the bag," she said. "I know. I almost didn't come back. But you did." She looked at him. "I'm not asking for special treatment. You're getting fair treatment. That's all I promised." She gave a small nod and didn't say anything else. But she didn't leave early either. By the end of the week, Tanya had logged 26 hours. She'd learned the register, observed restocking, and helped a new hire with the scanner system. Naomi had built a schedule around her that didn't overload her but didn't coddle her either. On Saturday, Wesley called her into the office. "I'd like to make the position permanent," he said. "Same hours, same pay, with room to grow. If you're open to it." Tanya didn't hesitate. "All right." He stood. "Welcome aboard." She left without ceremony. There was no celebration, but she came in the next day, 5 minutes early, and clocked in without looking for anyone's approval. The following week, Wesley called a meeting not in the break room, but on the floor after close. This time he stood without notes. "I made the mistake of thinking I could lead from a distance," he said. "That ends now." He looked around at the faces, some still skeptical, some still tired, but all watching. "We've made immediate changes, but the real change will take longer. That's what I'm asking of you. Not to fix everything overnight. Just to show up, do the work, and speak up when something's wrong. You have that right now." He paused. "I can't promise it'll be easy, but I can promise you won't be ignored again." No cheers, no applause, but no one walked away. The store didn't transform overnight. The stockroom was still tight. The scanner system still glitched once in a while. Customers still got impatient. But now, when Tanya asked a question, someone answered. When Naomi posted a schedule, people followed it. When Marcus needed help restocking, Devin offered without being asked. And when Wesley visited, he didn't have to go undercover to know what was happening. He just had to listen,